every retiree, every person who decides to live in Greece, they want to know what the healthcare is like and if it's affordable. What can
Mhm.
you tell us about that?
Healthcare here in Greece is free. And our second daughter was born here in Greece, and again was born in a public hospital. All right. And the experience was a little bit different, but it was excellent. The service, we didn't pay us nothing, like absolutely nothing.
All right, so today we're heading over to the one of the most amazing places I have been lucky to spend a good amount of time in. It's We're heading to Greece in this area called Nafplio with my new friend Daniel Carrazalez. Daniel, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Ray. I'm really, really excited to be here and talk to you today.
Yeah, man, this is great because I found your YouTube channel on Greece and subscribed right away. I love Greece. It's always an option for me to live there too. It's just such a beautiful place to live. And the food and the people, everything about it, I love. But Daniel, give us a little bit of backstory about you, where you're from, where you originate from, and how you landed in Greece.
Of course, of course. So I am from Venezuela, but I was born in the UK. So I was born in a country, but raised in a completely different country and part of the world. And my culture is just Venezuelan. So growing up, I had this idea that one day I will go back to the place of my birth, just because it's something so exotic for us Venezuelans growing up in South America. And I did travel quite a lot growing up because of my parents. When I managed to get to England after living in Canada as a kid and going back to Venezuela. So just to cut the whole story short, I was very excited to live abroad always because I have experience living in a different country apart from Venezuela. Okay. So I lived in Canada as a kid and I learned how to speak English when I was a kid, very young. And we were there because my mother was doing some studies, and that's back in the 80s. So I already had a taste of living abroad as a Venezuelan. Okay, and I
Mm.
already knew English. And when I went back to Venezuela, I always knew that I would go abroad at some point. And obviously, my target was not go back to Canada, even though that was the idea at one point. Uh, my target was to go back to the UK, and I actually managed to do that in my early 20s. So when I got to the UK, I arrived there as a citizen of the UK, as a British citizen, but I am a foreigner completely. Like I have no idea what I'm doing, who yeah, I don't know anybody, zero connections, and I started a new life in London specifically, which
Mm.
is the place where I was born. And from there, I met my wife. I built a life from scratch, literally, and 10, 12 years later, after the birth of my first daughter, we relocated here to Greece. My wife is Greek, and
Okay.
so it was one of those things that living abroad and having a kid, it was we can see that we were at a turning point, sort of speak in England, because my wife being from Greece and me from Venezuela, and now we're married and we're having our first child. It was a little bit of a challenge to live in London, being such a big city, but you're alone. Really, you don't
Hmm.
have any grandparents or aunts or any family members. So the idea to come to Greece was mine, believe it or not. People always think that I'm here in Greece because of my wife, but I was the one who was pushing for that. And why Greece? Well, yeah, because my wife is Greek, and I've been here with my wife for holidays and for honeymoons and all the rest, and we got married here in Greece. But I found the Greek culture to be very similar to the South American culture.
Hmm.
So that's why Greece, and
Okay.
That's
Wow,
for
that's fantastic, man. Daniel, you've been all over the place. I mean, the US, Canada, UK, Venezuela. When you talk about like wanting to go somewhere exotic, and you and Europe was the exotic place. It was the same thing for me, but Venezuela was the
Mhm.
exotic place for me. And when I lived when I was in New York City, I used to fly down to Venezuela, like I mentioned, quite a bit, and just fell in love with Venezuela. It's such a beautiful country. But all right, so once you guys moved over to Greece, the viewers want to know what type of visa you needed to obtain. Now, you're a part of the European Union over in the UK, so I'm guessing it's going to be a little bit different. But what can you share about visa
Yes, of course.
requirements?
Okay, so when I moved with my wife and my firstborn daughter, that was back in 2010, and back then England was still part of the European Union.
Hmm.
Okay, so what that meant is that I don't need any visa or anything.
Right.
Even though I'm married to a Greek, I didn't really need to use that as a way of staying here in Greece. So it's just a matter of like, hey, England is part of the EU, Greece is part of the EU. So you are free to move from one country to another. Okay.
Okay.
However, whenever Brexit happened, uh, I've I'm already living here for a number of years, and I had to update my residency. I had a permanent residency card here to stay freely because being a citizen of a European country. However, when Brexit happened, I had to update that.
Hmm.
Okay, that kind of like expire overnight without me even knowing. Nothing was going to happen. It's not like, hey, you're in danger that you're going to be deported to England.
Hmm.
Because I'm here as a British citizen, I'm not using any type of Venezuelan passport or documentation whatsoever. But I had to update my status, if you will, or my ID, which is just a permanent
Hmm.
residency card. But in my situation, it's not unique because there's many expats from England living here
Hmm.
that I know and that went through the same process. Okay, that they just have to update it, and that's that. They happen to be married to a Greek as well, or they have just been living here for such a long time. So I believe it's after 5 years of staying here, then you can apply for citizenship. I believe I don't know if it's 5 or 7 years.
Okay.
Okay, but I've been here for 14 years, and I qualify for that. Now, as an American or as a British citizen, this has changed now, right? Especially for the British. For Americans, I don't know exactly what type of requirements will someone need. All right. There is something called the Golden Visa.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if your viewers are familiarized with that, or you yourself, where you.
Yes.
So, this is something that Greece is offering in order for people to invest in properties here.
Right.
But that number is just ridiculous, really. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
it's
talking.
like a $500,000. I
Yeah. Yeah.
Last I checked.
I believe there's a digital nomad visa as well, where you have to prove that you earn X amount of money online
Hmm.
after taxes and so on. There are some type of visas that you can apply as someone who has a pension or is already retired. I don't know the details,
Yeah.
but there is something to investigate if anybody from the state wants to relocate here to Greece. And really, there is information out there and see what's the possibilities of somebody at least staying here for a little bit, see what the culture is about, see the country, because not everybody might want to retire in a country that have never been before,
True.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. You always want to definitely try it out. That's great advice. All right. Well, Daniel, everybody needs a place to live. So if they're going to move to this area of Nafplio, it's a beautiful area. How far is Nafplio from Athens? It's on the
Yeah, so
mainland.
Nafplio is in the Peloponnese area
Yep.
of Greece, and it's 2 hours away from Athens on a
Okay.
car or a coach. Okay.
Hmm.
So the prices here in Greece and here in Nafplio. Nafplio is a very small town,
Hmm.
15,000 people. Okay, 15,000. So it's a very small community. And being away from Athens, prices are a little bit cheaper, but then again, this is a holiday destination,
Yeah.
and the prices do not change that much. Okay, so a classic example of a flat or an apartment, I should say, for your viewers in America, a classic apartment here will be 80 square meters. Okay,
Mhm.
80 square meters, give or take, and that's a two-bedroom, okay, apartment with a kitchen and a living space. And that's very, very common here in Greece and in Athens, around the country, I will say.
Hmm.
Okay, it's a very classic layout, and for families, because usually families will have two kids, and here in Greece they still have very old-fashioned values when it comes to the family, and in the sense that the household is usually one bedroom for the parents and one bedroom for two kids, and they share it. So
Hmm.
that's not uncommon. I mean, there are apartments with three-bedroom uh apartments, but it's not like America, right? Like my mother, for example, she lives in the States and she lives in Houston, Texas. So over there, everything you have a little bit more space.
Sure.
And if you have a family, you will have definitely three bedrooms, no problem, four bedrooms, two toilets, the whole lot.
Hmm.
And there
Hmm.
will be much more space. When it comes down to the prices of this type of housing, we're looking at around, as it is today for 2024, is around 500 euros. Okay.
Okay,
All
that's for a two bedroom.
That's for a two-bedroom, yes. And five to, I mean, you can go all the way up to 700. It's not uncommon. Okay, so between 500 and 700 euros
Hmm.
for a two-bedroom flat. A studio will still be up there. Okay, it won't be very, very much more affordable. It will be actually, you can easily pay for a studio flat or apartment 400 euros, no problem. And I'm talking about a
Okay.
very small studio. And housing, even though for a lot of expats it can be a little bit affordable than, let's say, living in London, it is still a little bit pricey to Greek for Greek standards, for sure.
Daniel, have you considered buying? What are the housing costs going for in that particular area right now for a two, three bedroom house?
Yeah, that will go easily for 200,000.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So right around 200K.
Again, depending on the area, but again, this is a very desirable destination, and we have a lot of foreigners. Okay, investors. Airbnbs is a big problem here as well.
Yeah. Airbnb
So
is like they're becoming a problem everywhere from what people are sharing from the people that I've spoken to.
yeah, it's kind of like a big deal for the rest of people that live in the community, because the prices are just, but I believe that the housing thing, especially here in Greece and where I live in Nafplio, it will burst. That bubble will burst eventually, and because it makes no sense when somebody's renting a house or a flat or something for 600 or even 700 euros per month.
Yeah,
I mean, I live here and I can tell you that the minimum wage is that, right? It's
exactly. Yeah.
600 euros. So a pension is easily 1,800 here in Greece, and
Hmm.
that's doing very, very well. And
Sure.
still, the Greeks will complain that, hey, I can't pay this, right? So for Greek standards, the rent, or the mortgage for that matter, can be something very, very expensive. I know a couple that the husband is from Venezuela as well, and the wife is from Hungary, and they have just relocated here to Nafplio, and they're paying for a small flat. Well, it's a small house, um, smaller than 80 square meters, and they're paying 600 euros.
Hmm.
And they asked me, I mean, they found a good deal, according to them, but they asked me and my wife when we went to their house for a quick meal with them, if we thought that it was expensive. And, I mean, the reality is that yes, it is expensive, but then again, those are the prices here,
Sure.
so it doesn't come as a shock.
Do those prices include utilities or are utilities separate over there?
Uh, it's separate, but you can find housing with utilities. There's a couple that I'm telling you about. They just moved here. They moved to a house which is fully furnished. Furnished. Okay.
Oh, nice.
So they have everything that they need. They don't need to buy anything, and that's a good deal for some people,
Sure.
right? For a couple, for me and my wife, and we have two daughters, and we live here. We're not like testing the waters here in Greece. If we want to move to a new place or we want to do something like that, then it has to be unfurnished because we have our own stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're coming from the US, for example, and you want to live here for, let's say that the visa as a tourist here for US citizens will be, I don't know how long it is, 90 days.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Okay. I'm just dropping a name there. And you want to stay here for that amount of time or a little bit longer if that's allowed, then there are certainly possibilities for somebody to book a place that is fully furnished
Hmm.
and do a deal for like, hey, I'm going to stay here for 3 months, 6 months, or for the season, for the summer
Sure.
season, just to see how Greece is.
Do you live in a two? Do you rent or did you buy?
No, I'm renting at the moment.
You rent.
I'm in the process of buying.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, is the options are just they're endless and limited at the same time, depending on your lifestyle. I have two kids, so I want to be close to the center of Nafplio, which is exactly where I'm at right now, and I want to be close to the schools and
Hmm.
so my daughter could just go walking and go out with the friends. But they are different areas, a
Hmm.
little bit outside of the city, of the town, small town of Nafplio, where you can actually get a piece of land, which is what a lot of people do, and build a nice house. But then
Hmm.
you're a little bit away from where we're at right now,
Hmm.
so you really have to see what you want and
Sure.
what your needs are.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you in a two-bedroom or three-bedroom?
Two bedroom.
And
Yeah, yeah.
what is that going for?
This is going for 500 euros exactly. Well,
Okay.
480. Okay, but to me it's 500 euros. So right.
Yeah.
And when we moved here in 2020, it was 430, I believe it was. Yeah, that's without the bills and anything. And you know, electricity is, even though they say and it's been reported that Greece has one of the highest electricity bills. Uh, I don't think that is that high. We pay it for a period of like 2 or 3 months, so it could be anything between 100 and something, for electricity. And in fact, my wife was just talking today to the electric company because we work from home. We are paying a very high rate because we have computers on. We're always here.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, we work from home, so it's like, okay, you guys are paying quite a lot of electricity, but it's not that expensive. Okay, so
Hmm.
120 maybe for 2 or 3 months. I don't think that's very bad for electricity. And when it comes to water, it's the same thing. For water, I believe is probably around 30 or 40 euros. I mean, my wife has all this account. I should have gotten this a little bit more prepared in advance, but it's quite affordable. I believe it's more affordable than the states for sure. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know where you're at, but from where I hear, it can be a little bit more expensive. It
Sure.
certainly it certainly was more expensive in England for sure. That's for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. How about Wi-Fi and cell?
So obviously we're a family, so we have a package, and that goes for like, I don't know, 25 euros, 30 euros maybe a month, and
For the cell?
yes, that includes the mobiles, and that includes the home number, and that includes as well a very basic package of cable TV. It's kind of like a package included
Okay.
where we have some kind of like cable TV, I guess, but it's all together. I don't know if it's like that in the States. My mother has some type of package as well, and
Yeah,
what?
they're doing it all over the world, it seems like. So that does that include cell and Wi-Fi are included together?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's 25 a month?
That should be between 25. I'm not sure about the number, but that's probably between 25 and 35 euros a month.
Okay. All right, let's get into groceries. So groceries globally have really risen, especially here in the States.
Mm.
What are you paying for groceries? What do you budget per month? What do you think an individual could budget and get by on a month shopping for groceries in Greece?
Yeah, if you're by yourself, it's not gonna be that expensive. For us, that we're a family of four plus two cats. I mean, we could easily blow a week easily 80 euros in the supermarket. 80 to 100 in the supermarket. The thing here in Greece is that prices have gone up, like you mentioned, everywhere.
Yeah.
And but as an outsider, you will find that Greece is not that expensive when it comes to food.
Hmm.
I mean, I find London to be more expensive when it comes to buying food or to go
Oh
to a
yeah.
supermarket. And in
Yeah.
London, you don't buy half a kilo of tomatoes, okay?
No.
You buy two, all right?
Sure.
But here in Greece, it's a different
That's
culture.
it is.
Here in
Yeah,
Greece, we
it's
have as well that we have a grocery, plenty of grocers. We have a big super, well, not so big as you guys have in the States, but we have supermarkets and we have as well the farmers market where we get all our fruits and veg. And even though the prices have gone up, I mean, we're talking, man, that it's just nothing for getting half a kilo of anything.
hmm.
Okay, and we're talking about heavy stuff. I mean, more fruits and more veg that you can possibly eat. So
Yeah.
for an individual, again, for a family of four, it's anywhere between 80 and 100 euros per week for
Okay.
sure. So for an individual, I mean, it should be, you should be all right.
So for an individual, then if you're paying 100 or 400 per month for four of you, maybe 100, 150 per month for a single.
That sounds reasonable, depending on what type of diet as well,
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Okay. All right, great. So now let's get into transportation. How do people get around Greece? A lot of the viewers, they that want to retire in Greece, a lot of them want the simple life. They don't want to have to drive. They like to be able to walk to the little cafes or get a coffee in the morning, walk to the store, grocery store. But, if you got to go a little bit further out, are there ride shares? Are there Uber, taxis, or what is the bus system like there? And what is the cost, would you think, per month getting around?
That's an excellent question. Well, one of the reasons why we moved to Nafplio is because it's a small town. Okay. And here, they are buses and public transport for people that don't have cars. All right. You will need a car here in Nafplio to go to the beach, for example,
Okay.
and go to a supermarket. A family of four. I can't go. I mean, I could buy some shopping without the car, but yeah, I don't live alone, so I will need a car to do that. It will be much more comfortable to do so. But there is public transport. I don't use public transport. There is no need to take the car to go and buy your groceries either. All right, and you have to understand that here in Nafli or here in Greece in general, you won't go just to the supermarket to buy stuff. I mean, if you're gonna buy meat, for example, you go to the butcher. If
Hmm.
you're gonna buy fruit and veg, then you wait for the day that the farmers markets are gonna be around. Okay, it's a particular day, and you get certain things from different places. And supermarkets is not it's not just like the main thing where you're gonna get absolutely everything. So
Hmm.
it's very common for the lifestyle here to say, I'm gonna go and get eggs. So I get eggs from the grocer across here in the neighborhood, literally across the street, and he has fresh eggs. And I don't buy six eggs; I buy the whole thing,
Hmm.
right? Just because it's more affordable, and the eggs
Sure.
cost 25 cents per egg,
Hmm.
okay? And that's fresh eggs. And I say, like, you know what? Give me the whole thing. We're a big family. 25 cents per egg. I don't know how much is in the whole thing, but it's enough eggs for the family, so I don't have to worry about eggs.
Hmm.
From him, I will buy as well cheese, a lot of feta cheese, wine, and all of these products are his. They're locally produced here in the area.
Hmm.
Okay, so I save money on petrol that way. To go to a cafe, like you say, it's just walking distance. Going
Hmm.
back to what you were asking me about housing and if I want to buy a house or whatnot, the reason why we live here and we're in the center of Nafplio is so my daughter, my eldest daughter, that she's 14, she can go out and meet the friends without me having to drop her,
Sure.
right?
Nice.
And so the car is not really needed. The petrol here right now, as it is, and I have a small car which is runs on diesel, and that's the liter is 1.5, 1.6 for
Mhm.
diesel here.
Okay.
Okay. So with 45 euros, 50 euros maybe, I can fill up the tank of my car, and that will last me for a long time here in Nafplio. Nafplio is so small that I don't really burn that much petrol, and I don't use the car to go everywhere.
Hmm.
Obviously, if I'm going to Athens, which is 2 hours away from here and coming back, still with the car that I have, which is very economical, I will fill it up with 50 euros, go, come back, and I can still drive around Nafplio for the next 3 weeks, no problem, without worrying about transportation in that sense. If you live in Athens, it's different.
Hmm.
You might need to commute for whatever the reason. The lifestyle might be completely different, and but here where I live, the reason why people move to this type of small communities is for that reason. So
Hmm.
everything is in walking distance, and you don't depend in a car I mean, there's no metro station here.
Hmm.
It just doesn't exist. And so
The people living in that area that you're in, most of them just pretty much walk, maybe ride their bikes. They don't
yes,
rely. And do they ever have to jump on public transportation to get anywhere? I mean, can you take a bus to the beach rather than, are there buses that
yes, they are. The buses are working perfectly fine. Okay.
okay.
However, I wouldn't jump on a bus myself because it's not part of the culture. Okay. My friend that just relocated here, that I was mentioning to you, with his wife from Hungary, he was asking me that, like, oh, I could take the bus here and just go to the beach. The beach is like the beach that he wanted to go anyways is like 10 minutes away driving.
Hmm.
Uh, and I said to him, well, that's funny. I mean, that's something that a tourist will do,
Yeah.
or a teenager that
Sure.
doesn't have a
Yeah.
car. But the locals, I wouldn't say I want to save money on petrol to jump on a bus to go to the beach because it's just not something that we locals will do.
Hmm.
You can do it though. It works perfectly fine. You will see plenty of youngsters that don't have a car yet, and they say like, "Hey, I want to go to the beach with my friends." And hey, how am I gonna get there? Well, jump on a bus. But I mean, the prices, I have no idea what it is, but it's quite
Gotcha.
affordable.
All right, so let's dive into restaurants and entertainment. What do people do for entertainment in Nafplio? And what are the, like, a neighborhood restaurant? What can you get a meal for? A nice Greek meal.
Okay. All right. So here in Greece, we have street food. All right. So our version of street food will be uh, like what you were saying before we got onto the call. I think you mentioned kebab, right? So we have here what is a gyros. A lot of Americans call it gyros.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
just it's kind of like a kebab, really, like what we have in England, and that's here. That would be the equivalent of, I don't know. It's fast food, but it's not fast food. It's just street food, really, and that goes for like 3 euros. But I'm talking about a big chunk of meat, usually from lamb or chicken,
Yeah.
and that's full with potatoes, and it's with a pita bread.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you travel to Greece, you have to have that, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. They're
it's so
fantastic.
affordable. I mean, you eat one and you're done, right?
Exactly.
I made the mistake of eating two, but that's just way too much. So that's like three euros depending where you go. So that's a street food, but then again, you can just sit down and eat it as well in many places. If you're gonna go
Hmm.
for a meal and you're gonna order your classic Greek salad, some feta cheese, you're gonna have some, depends if you're gonna have meat or if you're gonna have fish, depending on what taberna you're gonna go, right? You could easily look to spend per head easily anywhere between 10 to 15 euros, easily. I mean, me and my wife and with the kids, I like to go to this Psaro Taberna. Psaro Taberna is a fish taberna, which is just about fish, right? and that's what they specialize on. And but this is like top quality fresh fish. Okay, it's not
Hmm.
frozen. It's not. It's just like the real deal. And we easily, okay, when we go there, we sit down with the kids. We could easily spend, 60 euros easily.
Hmm. For four of
Seven
you.
for four of us, yeah, 60 to
Okay.
70 euros easily, and that includes obviously the drinks as well. Mind you, we have kids, so the kids might not eat all the fishy things. They just eat some potatoes and some other stuff. But I'm talking about fresh produce things. When you go to taberna, that is all meat. Okay, some tabernas here they will sell you. Well, most of them they will sell you the meat by the kilo.
Hmm.
So it's not like in the States that you're gonna sit down and say like, "Hey, just give me a T-bone steak," and that's that. It's actually, a substantial amount of meat if you're with a group of people. So you could easily spend exactly the same amount of money. You're looking
Hmm.
at 15 euros per person, and I mean, if you're a group of people, but like I said, 3 or 4 people, you could easily be looking at that. 4 adults, maybe 80. It's not uncommon to pay 100 as well.
Hmm.
If the fish is quite pricey, if it's really really fresh or it's something very specific, then I have certainly paid 100 euros for a nice taberna. But I'm talking about the whole pack.
Hmm.
You
Okay.
know,
What do you think that somebody could get by, a retiree could get by in budgeting per month on eating out in restaurants, entertainment?
again, it goes back to the lifestyle. We do go out, but for the standards of other people, we don't go out.
Hmm.
Okay, so it really depends. I don't tend to eat much outside. There's not many fast food restaurants here where I live. I mean, they are, but in Greece we don't have a big franchise like England. Okay, like we don't
Hmm.
have many McDonald's or Pizza Huts or anything like that. I mean, they are in Athens and major cities, but here where I am at, there's not many like that. So you rely a lot on very traditional fast food. And yes, we have the burger joints, don't get me wrong, and all of that. But for somebody that is retired on its own, like I said, you could easily spend going out twice a week. I mean, that to me, if I was alone, retired here in Greece,
Yeah,
I mean, maybe I will go out much more often than I actually do. Okay, not
sure.
for reasons of economical reasons, but because maybe I don't have a family at home, and maybe I feel that I need to socialize. I mean, I met an expat quite recently from the UK, actually, that he's here alone. He's in his 70s,
Hmm.
and he needs to go out. And he
Yeah.
said to me like, I feel lonely. I
Yes.
I
Yeah.
want to go out, and I want to like have a beer, have something to eat. So that's a priority. So that's easily when you sit down by yourself or with me in that case, because he was invited me to keep him company and show him around town because he was new in town.
Yeah.
I mean, that's easily 30 euros, no problem. Two people just having one beer with something to eat there. Not a
Hmm.
meal, but just sit down and have something to just munch and talk
Hmm.
about life.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the big important aspects of living abroad is if you don't speak the language, it's really important to connect with other expats that speak, that you can communicate with and form a community so that you can have the support that you need. Because it's the transition is not always as easy as it may seem.
It's not, and I try to. I mean, for me, it has been a challenge because I work from home, so I'm not integrated in the Greek culture. I don't have Greek coworkers. I don't have beer o'clock.
Right.
I don't have none of that. So I'm always here at home working, doing this kind of type of Zoom calls, actually doing music or doing the videos. And one of the reasons why I started my Greek lifestyle YouTube channel was precisely because of that. Because I create content and people are always asking me online, like, okay, where do you live? What do you do? You sound like you're American, but you're not. What's your last name again? You know what I mean? Like, where do you
Yeah.
come from? Why do you
Well,
do that? What are you doing there? You look Greek. You don't look Greek. To the Greeks, I sound like a foreigner that is a Greek that lived abroad and came back. For Americans or for English, they sound like, I mean, I can't figure you out.
yeah, yeah.
So what I've done is try to create a YouTube channel talking about everything that we're talking about here,
Hmm.
and show how I have managed to integrate in a foreign country where I do speak the language. Yes, I'm a foreigner, but I face the same struggles. Okay, because
Hmm.
I have to integrate in the community somehow by going to the grocery and talk. Try to find a group of people somehow, become
Yes.
friends. Join Facebook groups or whatever.
Yes. Yep. Yep. It's crucial. It's definitely crucial for mental health, and isolation it can be a killer,
Mm,
when you move overseas. So it's really important to connect with the people that are there that you can form relationships with. And then you have people that have come before you, have a lot of guidance and tips and info that's going to be beneficial. So, Daniel, let's dive into the last thing we have here. Every retiree, every person who decides to live in Greece, they want to know what the healthcare is like and if it's affordable. What
mm.
can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, as someone who lives here and I pay my contributions, right, to healthcare. Healthcare here in Greece is free. Okay, and I want to address something here very quickly. My wife gave birth in England to our first daughter through the NHS.
Hmm.
Okay, and that was absolutely free, and it was perfectly fine. Okay, and it was a great experience actually. And our second daughter was born here in Greece, and again was born in a public hospital. All right, and the experience was a little bit different, but it was excellent. The service, we didn't pay us nothing, like absolutely nothing. And
Okay.
it was a great thing. There's certain things here in Greece when it comes down to hospitals that they do change quite a lot. Obviously, here where we live is a small community, so there's a hospital here, and there's another hospital in Argos, which is a bigger town near to
Mhm.
us. But they're both public, and we have certainly used it.
Well, Daniel, that we've covered everything. Is there anything else that you can think of that could be helpful for the viewers that are considering or thinking about retiring or living in Greece that we didn't cover?
Well, I believe that the biggest thing that someone needs to have in mind when retiring to Greece is think about what exactly you want. When it comes down to having access to entertainment, like you were mentioning, food and what do people do, then probably being in Athens, you know, will be a better place.
Hmm.
Okay, because you have the theaters and stuff. Not that we don't have theaters here, we actually have plenty of theaters, especially the summer season. But you have to think always of what exactly do you want. All right. Um, and I'm saying this from experience because I've met people, and quite recently, like I mentioned, this fellow expat from England in his 70s, completely alone, living here for a period of time. But he was complaining that there was not much to do. Okay, and that could be a problem. But it all comes down to what the person wants. If you're someone that is retiring to Greece as a couple, and we do have quite a lot of them here.
Hmm.
Okay, especially here in Nafplio, you see them all over the place, and you can tell that they are from England, from the Netherlands, from Germany, and they actually have a home here, and they
Hmm.
actually get their pension here, and they're more than happy to be here, and they just want a simple life. They want to go for a meal, they want to go for a coffee, they want to go to the beach, they want to enjoy a simple life. They don't want the hustle and the bustle,
Right.
that Athens life has. Okay,
Hmm.
so that's something that you have to consider. And you know, uh, here in Nashville, like I mentioned, it's a very small place, and we like it like that. But it's a very touristy place. There is a lot of people. There's a lot of foreigners here. So even as an expat or as an American living here, and even if you don't speak the language, you can still move along, and you won't feel completely isolated like you're in a village somewhere in Greece. I mean, you will feel like you're in an international place
Hmm.
for sure.
All right. Well, Daniel Carrizalez, thank you so much, sir, for taking the time out of your day to be a part of this and sharing all this info. I truly appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.